Being a Dom isn't actually all good. There actually are pros and cons to being a Dom. Just like nearly every single thing in life, there are pros and cons to everything. Now, what exactly are the pros and cons, though, to being a Dom? Well, let's first start off with the pros. The pros about being a Dom are that you get to make the decisions and you get to provide the stability for your partner. For instance, if there is a decision that must be made on where exactly the Dom and the sub will live, or maybe even what exactly the Dom and the sub will do in terms of financials, parenting, or anything, it doesn't really matter. It is all decided by one party, in this case, the Dom. And the Dom makes those decisions. This is the overall benefit to a relationship that the Dom provides, because there are no power struggles for who makes that decision, because there isn't a Dom-Dom, it's just a Dom-Sub. The second pro to being a Dom is actually providing the stability and demonstrating competency for your partner. Now, this is a little weird because this might sound like a con. So why exactly is this a pro? Well, providing stability means it allows you to, in this case, control the environment of that area. So for instance, you are able to change the environment to overall make it more suitable or more livable for the sub, or even maybe less dangerous for the sub in some way or another. Now, you can make this stress-free environment or to the best of your abilities, and you can hopefully make it not have spiders or basically dangerous things. This is what allows for the environment to overall be better suited to that human being, in this case, that sub. But these in and of itself are not just pros, because as the saying goes, blessing or curse, what's the difference? These are also cons because they require responsibility and resources. Without both of these, the relationship will not work, especially, by the way, the responsibility part. That part is probably more valuable than the resources in today's day and age, and in all reality, because women are able to work and women have been forced into the workforce in some sense. The con, though, of being a Dom is that you must take responsibility of every single situation and pretty much every single outcome that happens to your sub. So, for instance, if your sub suddenly starts to gain weight, maybe, if your sub starts feeling sad or whatever, it doesn't really matter. You have to take responsibility for how they are doing because you have to be managing them. This is sort of why being a Dom in this case is not all good and honestly sometimes exhausting. Just this alone is pretty tough, and this is definitely a downside to being the Dom. You have to be able to take care of their needs and desires as well as your own. The other con of being a Dom is that it requires resources and demonstrating competency. Now, this is because you have control over their environment, and you have to be able to have the resources required in order to change their environment for the better. Now, demonstrating competency in this case means, well, showing that you have the ability to be the Dom in the relationship, which means passing shit tests, because shit tests will never ever end. And honestly, there's a very good reason as to why they never end, because they are constantly testing if you are demonstrating competency or if you are not demonstrating competency. And if you aren't demonstrating competency, what ends up happening in this case, and you fail the shit tests, the roles reverse and slowly you start to become the sub and they become the Dom. And that is not a good situation, because there's a really good chance that if that situation happens, well, first off, there's going to be a lot of arguing, which if that happens in your relationship, I'm sorry, you've failed the shit tests. Another example is that if you, for instance, are having intimacy withheld from you, that is another great example of you have failed the shit tests before. I go into way more detail on all of this in the relationship playlists videos, so if you're interested, go check those videos out, because those will teach you a whole lot, especially when it comes to the sub-Dom relationships and what actually makes a successful relationship. Because today's day and age, if you didn't already know, divorce rates are through the roof. Men and women are basically at war with each other and resenting each other way too much. That's not supposed to be happening. There is a clear divide in society that should not be happening, and birth rates are also plummeting. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys learned something valuable, and I'll see you in the next one.